today through 3 p.m. The show goes on until 4 p.m., but I like to call this the holiday hustle. We're all kind of filling in different spaces. So our own Tia Ewing is going to come up and relieve me right around 3 o'clock. But let's talk about some of the things that we're gearing up for in this first hour together. Home Run Inn Pizza and the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services are joining forces for a phenomenal cause. This is the 4th annual holiday celebration, Miracle on 31st Street. Tomorrow morning, they are going to be distributing more than 5,000 pizzas to 30 Chicago homeless shelters, and we're going to be catching up with them ahead of the big event to give back. We're also waiting for a roundtable to begin any minute now, where President Trump is expected to announce a $12 billion aid package for farmers in America. Corn, cotton, sorghum, soybean, rice, cattle, wheat, potato, all of those farmers are going to be there, expected to be a part of this this announcement that's going to be made. The Treasury Secretary and Agriculture Secretary are expected to be there as well. You always hear it said that everything we eat, what we wear, and a lot of what we use on a daily basis and even drink comes from our farmers. So this should be able to help them out. But first here, we want to begin in Brighton Park, where residents are protesting against concrete bike lanes along Archer Avenue. They say that they've added to rush hour traffic backups and increased concerns for emergency vehicles needing to get by. Claudia Zuno is an organizer and a community resident joining me now. Claudia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Usually when we talk about bike lanes going up, it's as a result of organizations that are rallying together to get them put in. But that's not the case, is it, for your area? How did this come to be?
Well, we are not against bike lanes, and we agree that we should have more bike lanes in the city of Chicago, have access to for everyone. But the way this came about was just the wrong way. I think studies were not had to see what's the best way to use these bike lanes in this community. This is a working class community. People use Archer Avenue to commute from the east to the west side. So it's not just Brighton Park residents, but it's also our neighbor surrounding Brighton Park area. These bike lanes have transformed Archer Avenue from 2 lanes to 1, creating so much congestion on Archer Avenue and also on Kedzie. So also Kedzie going from down from I-55 to Archer Avenue is also reduced from 2 lanes to 1. We have the BNSF yards here. This is an industrial corridor, so a lot of semis, a lot of trucks, a lot of delivery trucks use Archer and Kedzie. So now this impedes the flow of traffic in our neighborhoods.
So down to 1 lane is pretty significant there, and you say that this has even created issues for the businesses in the area.
Absolutely. Actually, this week we just went knocked on doors down Archer and Kedzie, and we have yet to see one business supporting these bike lanes. Not one. All these businesses are infuriated because it's bad enough they're dealing with the cost of inflation, ICE raids in our neighborhood, people are not going out to shop, and now we're limiting access to these businesses. So people cannot pull over to go to these restaurants, to these stores. You have to think twice if you want to go. So the sales have significantly dropped. Some businesses have parking lots, but they're like, you know what, the best way for customers to come visit us is when they pull over and to quick jump in and out. That's no longer the case. So that has really impeded sales. And it's a lot of small businesses. It's not these big box stores. It's mom and pop shops that are getting affected, and they don't know what to do.
And of course, like you said, they've been hit in so many different directions. Do you have a lot of bikers in your community? I mean, again, this ultimately was placed there to try to protect them. So do you have a lot of bikers? Cyclists?
Not to the case that it has to be this destructive and this intrusive. I think we could have shared bike lanes. We see that throughout the city where you do have painted bike lanes where vehicles, when there is a bike present, you do merge or give them the right of way. That would have been the best way to do it, or start to analyze if this is the best way to go about it. They're also talking about safety. This is another issue for safety. We can have longer red lights. We can have more stop signs. We can have speed cameras. We can have red light cameras. None of these were implemented first. They went straight to being very destructive in our commute, and there's no really way to going back from this. And the neighborhood is up in arms saying they need to remove them. So I don't know what's the next step with our Alderman Julia Ramirez. We have been trying to communicate with her through social media. People have called her office, and she just directs us back to CDOT and updating the construction. But there's really no true answer what's going to happen with these concrete barriers.
When did the construction start?
It started 2 months ago. It started from Kedzie, and now they almost completed down Archer. There's rumors having that they want to expand the Archer bike lanes from Halsted all the way to Cicero Avenue. So reducing those lanes 2 to 1 is going to go stretching from Halsted all the way to Cicero. These surveys that they say that they're circulating in the neighborhood, we're not getting direct surveys to homes, to the residents, to the people who are being affected by these bike lanes. We never received anything in the mail. Unless you follow them via social media, you don't know what's really going on.
Claudia, are you still there? Looks like your camera froze. Okay, looks like her camera froze. So while we're working on that again, the residents there are going to be protesting against concrete bike lanes this afternoon at 4:30, and they're going to be at 12th Ward Alderman Julia Ramirez's office. She was just mentioning there that that's who they've been trying to speak to try to get some type of information, some type of feedback as to whether this situation could be remedied in any type of way. Again, that's going to be happening at 4:30 this afternoon there at Archer Avenue and Rockwell. They received about 2,000 signatures. They collected about 2,000 signatures demanding that something be done about this. And Claudia, I see you back here on the line now. I'd like to know, when you're collecting these signatures, what was the feedback that you got from people? And were there no community talkback sessions before this construction began?
That we know of, no. People just started waking up. So we just got up to construction zones and we just started seeing the barriers. Actually, the group, we named ourselves Archer Guardians. It's just through social media, we met each other and we're like, hey, what's going on? What can we do? We need to organize. We need to get the word out. And just social media just evolved. Within 2 weeks, we have so many followers, so many positive feedbacks in the sense that they do not want these barriers. The change.org petition happened from someone who was just upset with this and just put it out there, and she never thought this would blow up the way it did, just through social media. So it's been a community grassroots efforts to stop this from happening. So it's really done organically. There's no political party behind this, no political campaign behind this. This is just plain and simple neighbors upset about this.
Mm-hmm. And when you're rallying this afternoon, what is the message that you try to get across, and why do you go specifically to this alderman's office? Are there are others who may be involved in the decision making?
We don't know. It's coming straightly from her. It's coming from her ward office. She is the one who represents us, and I think we're not being heard. And the construction's happening in front of her office too. We started last week. It was just a handful of us, just protesting, honk if you support our initiatives. And it's been overwhelming. It was just a handful of us last week. We had nonstop cars honking in support of removing these bike barriers. CTA bus drivers giving us the thumbs up because this is also delaying their service routes. We had just a group of young high schoolers waiting for the bus where we were at. They were there for 45 minutes waiting for the bus to go home. And it's winter, so it's dark at 4 p.m. By the time they get out of school, get home, their commute has just dragged on longer. And people are just very upset. And I think she needs to listen to her constituents and her residents and do something about this. There's another alderman, I believe in Bronzeville area. She's getting them removed in her ward. And if she can do it, so can Julia. She can remove them in her ward too. This was just a big mistake.
Very interesting that side of it, that someone else is having them removed. And was that as a result of people protesting in that area as well?
No, I think the alderwoman, I'm not sure what exactly led her to do it, but it just made no sense. I think it was just a barrier, it caused congestion, I'm sure delays in everybody's commute, and she just didn't see it necessary. So I believe she is asking CDOT to remove them from her ward. So we're asking our alderman to do the same.
Yeah, and I guess
in the long run, this is going to cost us more.
Well, that was going to be my final question to you. Have you heard how much the removal would cost?
No, we don't. So we are trying to reach out to CDOT to see what the cost is for all of this to begin with, just the cost of implementing them, and then now to remove them. But in the long run, it's going to cost the residents a lot more. There is also rumors that have it, and we're filing a FOIA, saying that side streets along Archer Avenue, because of the paid meters being removed or not being used because of these bike lanes on Archer Avenue, they're going to have to put paid meters on the side streets along Archer Avenue. So now these are now paid meters within the residential zone. Once residents find out about this, if this is true, and see what affected streets these are, it's going to just it's just going to make things a lot worse.
Well, yeah, that would complicate things quite a bit more. So we'll even do some asking there on that particular note, whether paid meters are going there. That's a totally different type of situation on top of the concrete bike lane. So again, you all are rallying this evening. How many people do you expect to be there?
We hope a lot. We don't know. We are. It's just. We're doing social media. We're doing outreach. A lot of people, especially businesses, are going to come out and support us along Archer Avenue. They're going to come in. If it's just honking your horn, if it's just promoting on social media, if it's calling Alderman Julia Ramirez's office, that's all the support that we need. We know this is during rush hour. We know this is the time when people have to get home, do dinner, do homework with their kids. I'm a mother of 3. You know, we all have things to do than do this, but this is just to the point where it's getting ridiculous how our elected officials are not listening to the residents.
You know, one of our viewers here on Chicago Live just commented it also prevents emergency vehicles from being able to get by.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there was a mom who videotaped how there was a ambulance and couldn't get through during rush hour. There was another video also about safeties where now people, instead of going down Archer Avenue, they're cutting through alleys. So it's just creating a mess. People are going to find ways to go around this, especially if you're in a rush to get to an appointment, to pick up your kid from daycare, getting your parents from wherever they're at, doctor's appointments. This is just creating havoc in our daily routine.
Mm-hmm. So outside of this afternoon's protest, do you all have other plans?
We are protesting every Monday from 4 to 6 at this corner of Rockwell and Archer until we are being heard. We are also collecting signatures to deliver to our elected officials, including Julia Ramirez, City Hall, time and date to be determined, to show that there is more people opposing these bike lanes than those who are supporting. And we need to find an alternative, a safer way where our bikers can share the road with our vehicles, and it is a road for everybody. We definitely agree that we need to find a better way, but this was just a very obstructive way. This was not the way to go about it.
Claudia Zeno, thank you so much for your time today. Please keep us updated, okay?
Thank you so much. We sure will.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. All right, everyone. As we were speaking, First Lady Melania Trump has been participating in a Toys for Tots charity drive. This is in Marine Corps Base, Quantico, Virginia. You can see her with some of the kids there. She delivered some remarks a short while ago here, but she's still taking part in helping the kids with some Christmas cards that they're making in this area. As the camera kind of moves around, you can see them there making the Christmas cards that'll go out, and then also they'll be sorting some toys as well. So again, that's the First Lady Melania Trump there helping out with Toys for Tots. Toys for Tots doing so many wonderful things in this part of the year, especially when they've been having a lot of different events here in our area. I believe this past weekend they had the bikers that were doing their parade for Toys for Tots, and so many other events that are happening. But this one again in Quantico, Virginia, with the First Lady Melania Trump and a lot of eager kids who are putting together some Christmas cards, and I'm sure sharing some great stories there as well. It's 1:16. Let's take a quick break. 1:21 right now, and we're going to take you back to the courtroom up in Boston, in that area where we've been watching this case. We've dipped in for the past week here as Brian Walsh has been on trial. If you don't recall this, Anna Walsh, his late wife, was last seen on New Year's Eve in 2022, and what began as a missing person search there in Cohasset outside of the Boston area and even Washington, D.C., escalated within days. Brian Walsh was arrested, accused of misleading investigators, and prosecutors said he killed his wife, believing she was having an affair, then dismembered and disposed of her body, which was never found. Now, when they were doing jury selection about 2 weeks ago, Brian abruptly changed his plea to guilty of charges of misleading police and moving his wife's body, but not to murder. So let's listen into a bit more of what's taking place here as they have been speaking to different people on the witness stand and presenting evidence.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Trying not to drop them all. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name for the record and spell your last name?
Matthew Sheehan, Sheehan.
And where do you work, sir?
At the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab.
And what is your role there?
I am a forensic scientist 3 in the crime scene response and criminalistics units.
And how long have you been with the crime lab?
Just over 12 years.
And where did you go to school, sir?
The University of New Haven.
And what degree do you have?
I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in forensic science with a concentration in chemistry.
And can you detail your history at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab?
I was originally hired in September of 2013 as a forensic scientist 1, which is mainly a training position. The following year in 2014, I was promoted to an FS2, which is a full-time case working analyst. For a period of about 6 months in the year of 2022, I was acting crime scene supervisor. And following that, I was promoted to criminalistics supervisor in November of 2024.
And what's the difference between a criminalist and a crime scene, the criminalistics unit and the crime scene response unit?
The crime scene response unit is any work that is done outside of a lab at a particular crime scene, while a criminalist in the criminalistics unit will examine everything inside of a lab in a controlled setting.
And you are familiar with competency testing and proficiency testing, correct?
Yes.
And have you taken both of those types of tests?
I have.
And have you passed those tests?
Yes.
And have you ever testified before giving your opinion concerning evidence collection and forensic analysis of evidence?
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times?
50 to 60 times.
Where did you respond on January 8th of 2023 at approximately 8:52 a.m.?
It was around 8:45 a.m.
8:45 a.m.
It was 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway in Cohasset.
And how many floors are in that home?
There's 3 floors, 2 livable, an attic, as well as a basement.
And what was your role at that home?
Now, I was assigned to the crime scene response unit, so I was dedicated to looking for and testing for biological material.
So let's talk about that. What is biological material? What kinds of things are you looking for?
In this particular case, I was looking for blood.
Are you looking for anything else, any other kinds of material while you're at that home?
It could be physical evidence as well as various types of trace materials if needed.
What is trace material?
Trace materials, it can be considered paint, glass, hairs, and fibers.
So where did you begin your work that day?
I began work in the kitchen area on the first floor.
And just generally, how do you determine what you're looking for?
I will speak with the detectives on scene to get a general guideline of what type of investigation this is. Following that, I will make a general test plan for the scene that I am at before testing.
So what were your observations of the kitchen area?
It was clean overall. When looking through the kitchen, we did find a couple bottles of hydrogen peroxide as well as a knife in a kitchen cabinet above the refrigerator.
Okay. At this point, I would like to place into evidence what's already been marked as Exhibit 201, that being SLD 7597. And I would ask to publish that for the jury.
All right, and what is SLD 7597?
Exhibit 201, that being the area that he's discussing in the kitchen, the hydrogen peroxide.
Just a photo of that?
Yes.
All right.
Is this that area that you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
And I'd next ask to, you also described a knife, correct?
Yes.
I'd next ask to show Exhibit 202, that being SLD 7606, being a knife, Your Honor, previously marked as Exhibit 202, and to publish that for the jury.
You may.
And Mr. Sheehan, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And then more specifically, I'd like to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 203, SLD 7610, which is more specifically a knife. May I publish that for the jury, Your Honor?
You may.
Is that the knife you're referring to?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Mr. Sheehan, what kind of testing did you do?
I performed a screening test for blood on the blade of the knife.
And can you describe what the screening test for blood is?
The screening test is a two-step color test where a small portion of question sample is put onto a test swab. And after that, two chemicals are added to this test swab. If there's a bright pink color change, the test is positive. And if there's no color change or to something other than that pink color, the test is negative.
And what were the results?
The screening test for blood was positive on this blade.
And did you perform this screening test anyplace else?
Yes.
And where else did you perform that?
As on the hydrogen peroxide bottles, as well as on the kitchen sink area.
And what were the results that you found for the kitchen sink and the hydrogen peroxide bottles?
On all of the bottles, as well as the sink knobs, the sink basin, and the sink drain had all screened negative for blood.
And what can cause positive results besides human blood?
Various types of food materials, such as vegetables, as well as various types of legumes.
And did you test any other areas in the kitchen?
No.
Did you test inside of the dishwasher?
I did not.
Why did you not test inside the dishwasher?
The nature of a dishwasher is to sanitize anything that is inside with extreme temperature, chemicals, and water. I felt that it wasn't necessary to test on the inside due to those conditions.
Okay. Besides the areas that you've already discussed, what other areas did you test on the ground floor of 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway?
There was also a half bathroom that I examined.
And what did you examine in the half bathroom?
There was a washing machine and a dryer, as well as a sink.
Okay. And what were your results?
Screening test for blood was negative on the interior of the dryer and washing machine, as well as on the sink knobs, the sink basin, and drain.
And did you test anything else on that floor?
No.
And then where did you go?
To the second floor bathrooms.
Okay. And did you also go into the bathroom, to the basement area?
I did.
Okay. And did you do testing in the basement area?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So I want to move to the basement for a moment. I'd like to show what's been previously marked as Exhibit 34, May I publish that to the jury?
You may.
Thank you. Can you tell me what this is?
This is the door in the kitchen leading down to the basement.
And then I'd like to show what's been previously marked as Exhibit 35. May I publish that to the jury?
You may.
Thank you. And what is this?
This is the stairwell leading to the basement.
May I publish Exhibit 36, please?
Yes.
And can you tell me what this is?
So if you were standing at the bottom of the stairs looking back up towards the kitchen, this area would be to the left.
And may I publish Exhibit 37, please?
Yes.
And what is this area?
The same if you were to stand at the bottom of the stairs looking towards the kitchen, this area is to the right.
I'd next like to show what's now being marked as Exhibit 204, Exhibit 7, SLD 7476.
Okay, so we were listening in there as Matthew Sheehan, who was with the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, was talking about his findings in the house of the Walshes right around the time of Anna Walsh's disappearance. The hydrogen peroxide in the kitchen, a knife that was found that tested positive for blood there. And they had already, it's important that you know, they had already listened to testimony of a witness from CVS who saw and showed surveillance video of Brian Walsh purchasing 5 bottles of hydrogen peroxide after his wife's disappearance. So that's continuing on here, but we did promise you we were going to President Trump's roundtable discussion here where he's supposed to be announcing an aid package for farmers in the country. Let's listen in.
Questions him, John, you know, nobody says, oh, well, what do you mean by that? But they just say the word, they never say anything else because they caused the problem, but we're fixing the problem. And we're pleased to be joined today by many of the wonderful members of the farming community, as well as the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Brooke, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Thank you very much, Scott. Senator John Bozeman. Thank you, John. Good job. John Hoven. Thank you, John. And Deb Fisher. Thank you very much. As well as Representative Austin Scott, who's been with us right from the beginning. Thank you, Austin. Good job. I'm delighted to announce this afternoon that the United States will be taking a small portion of the hundreds of billions of dollars we receive in tariffs. We are making a lot of money from countries that took advantage of us for years. They took advantage of us like nobody's ever seen. Our deficits are way down because of tariffs. I guess because of the election. Because without the election, you wouldn't have tariffs. You'd be sitting here losing your shirt. But we're taking in billions. We're really taking in trillions of dollars, if you think about it, Scott, because the real number is, you know, when you think of all the money being poured into the country for new auto plants and all of the other things, AI. So what we're doing is we're taking a relatively small portion of that, and we're going to be giving and providing it to the farmers in economic assistance. And we love our farmers, and as you know, the farmers like me, because you know, based on voting trends, you could call it voting trends or anything else, but they're great people. They're the backbone of our country. So we're going to use that money to provide $12 billion in economic assistance to American farmers. $12 billion is a lot of money, Meryl. What do you think? Peanuts for you, though, right? Peanuts. She's a farmer of rice. This relief will provide much-needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops, and it'll help them continue their efforts to lower food prices for American families. And again, we inherited something that we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country, and we're taking care of it. Farmers are an indispensable national asset, part of the backbone of America. I've always felt it so strongly. They're so important. Unfortunately, under sleepy Joe Biden, he's a sleepy guy, our farmers were crushed by the worst inflation in modern history and crippling restrictions on energy, water, and countless other necessities for farmers. And what they did to the farmer in terms of putting the brakes on was just absolutely unacceptable. In my first term, we had an agricultural trade surplus by a lot. We had a big surplus, meaning we were exporting American agricultural products all over the world, making a net profit, and in many cases, a very substantial profit. He came in and ruined it. Biden turned that surplus into a gaping agricultural deficit that continues to this day, but we're knocking it down. It's starting to go very good. In fact, China, as you know, is buying a tremendous amount of soybeans, and the number, I spoke with President Xi recently, very recently, and I think he's going to do even more than he promised to do. So I think the relationship is a very good one. I think he's going to do more than he promised to do, and what he promised to do is a lot. So we're very happy with that. In the last year, Biden bankruptcies rose by 55%, having to do with farms. So farm bankruptcies under Joe Biden went up 55%. That's not good. But now we're once again in a position where a president is able to put farmers first. But unfortunately, I'm the only president that does that. On day one, I terminated the Green New Scam. Energy prices are down. Gasoline prices are down. We've slashed record numbers of crippling regulations, and we're working on huge trade deals, already securing $60 billion in agricultural purchase commitments. And, you know, Biden made none. He didn't make any trade deals having to do with the farmers or any of it. It's crazy. China committed. He was the worst president in the history of our country, by the way, in case anybody has any questions. China committed to over $40 billion of soybean purchases, and that's a commitment. And I asked President Xi if he could even up it. And I think he'll do that. I mean, not a commitment. 40 billion is a commitment, but the soybean farmers are quite happy. Since my successful meeting in South Korea with President Xi, purchases have been made and soybeans are being exported out of the United States to China as we speak. And I say that our soybeans, I told this to President Xi, our soybeans are more nutritious than competitors. Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real? In fact, you know who asked me that question? President Xi asked me that question. He said, really, I had never heard of it. And he was a food purchaser for a long time. But that's what I hear. And Japan agreed to $8 billion in purchases of corn, soybeans, ethanol, fertilizer, aviation, biofuel, and rice. You know, Japan never bought rice from anybody else. It's like a very important thing to them. And they agreed to buy rice, okay?
Absolutely.
So I also proudly signed into law the largest tax cuts in history, and the one big, beautiful bill, the monumental tax relief bill that is benefiting very, very strongly, benefiting the American farmer. And I think also for farmers, we have, as you know, and we got this, the estate tax, or the death tax, as they call it, on farmers, on small businesses. You don't have to pay it anymore. A lot of farms, you love your children, and your children are great, and they want to be farmers, and you leave the farm with your children, and a lot of farms are, you know, sort of cash poor, land-rich cash poor, and the kids would go to the local bank or to any bank, and they'd borrow money to pay the estate tax, and they'd end up losing the farm. They go bankrupt, and a lot of death too, you know, literally. Because they love their farm and they love their business and they love that way of life, they end up committing suicide. A lot of suicides. We have no more estate tax. How about that? Do you have children?
I do.
Well, let them know. Now, if you love your children, then it's good. If you don't love your children, you don't have to leave them anything. It doesn't matter what I just said.
They're
But
still young. I still
I
love
have
them.
a feeling you love
I
them.
still love them.
I have a feeling you love your children. But the estate tax is a very big thing, so you don't have estate tax. You die, you leave your farm or whatever, or small business to your children, you don't have to pay estate tax. It seems to affect the farmer more than anybody else, because you can have a farm that's very valuable, and therefore you have to pay a big tax, but it's not a big value in terms of cash. Maximizing domestic farm production is a big part of how we will make America affordable again, and bring down grocery prices for American families. And again, these are prices that we inherited. When I left, we were doing incredible. In 4 years, what they've done to this country and so many, and not even mentioning the border and the criminals allowed into our country and all of the other. So I just want to say it's a tremendous honor being with you. I'd now like to ask Secretary Rollins to provide some of the details, followed by Secretary Bessent, Director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, Senator Bozeman, Representative Scott, and then we go to a couple of the farmers' representatives, but we'll all get involved a little bit. You can speak. Anybody is shy to speak in front of the press, and I don't blame you if that's the case, but farmers, Court Hollop and Merrill Kennedy will say a few words also, and then we'll have a little discussion, okay? Madam Secretary.
Thank you to the greatest boss in the world for a long time now. It's just an honor to be here. I'm going to keep my comments very short because I really want to make sure that you and the world gets to hear from our farmers. So a couple of quick points. Number one, this country and our farm economy is facing a crisis that we inherited that most of these farmers have not seen in their lifetime. Profitability is down. It's just one crisis after another. When we came into office, or when you did and you were sworn in on January the 20th, as you mentioned, not one new trade deal had been struck in 4 years. The cost of inputs for our farmers, fertilizer up 36%, manual labor up 47%, interest rates up 73%. When you combine the cost of inputs for our farmers married to no new trade deals, and then you're facing an administration whose priorities were DEI, climate change, putting the farmer aside. I mean, it was an absolute war on agriculture and on our rural communities. That all changed on January 20th. So as, sir, we are working, and you have been just so resolute. I mean, these are our people. Rural America is the fabric of our country. This is the way of life that preserves the American dream for the next 250 years as we celebrate the first 250 years. So we began to go to work immediately. What these elected officials sitting across from us did with the One Big Beautiful Bill, with a lot of help and direction from you, was the largest investment in rural America in any of our lifetimes. We will begin to see that effectuated next year in 2026. As we have fought to bring input costs down, you have talked about, and even this weekend did an executive order, signed one, on looking into the reason that so much of these costs have been driven up over and over. Equipment, again, fertilizer, seed, et cetera, et cetera. We have to make sure we understand why that is. And then the continuing of the additional trade deals across the world. And no longer will America be held and beholden to the regime of other countries' tariff infrastructure. Instead, we are moving our products out across the world. Having said that, and we have been listening to the farmers for the last 10 months, 11 months, sir, that the bridge that is needed to get from the last administration and what basically happened under the last president and the last U.S. Department of Agriculture to this new golden age for farmers, where instead of farming for government checks, they can farm to feed their family and sell their products and pass it on to the next generation, that this bridge is absolutely necessary based on where we are right now. So as the president said, we are very pleased to announce that today we are going to be effectuating an $11 billion bridge payment to our farmers. The money will move by February 28th of 2026, but by the end of this month, so just in the next couple of weeks, every farmer that is able to apply for it will know exactly what that number looks like. So as you are going to your lender, as you are working to ensure and understanding what you can plant for next year, you will have that number in hand. And we will continue to talk to our farmers, continue to understand exactly what this looks like and what is necessary. The final thing I'll say is,
we were listening in there to the Agriculture Secretary as she and the President have just announced here now a $12 billion farm aid package, $11 billion that will go to what's called a bridge program that will help farmers throughout the country here. The President was saying that a portion of the money from tariffs is what they're using to be able to provide this economic assistance for our farmers, who they call the backbone of our country. As I said, I mean, they are responsible for just about everything we eat, what we wear, what we drink, and so much more. So they're saying that this assistance that they're providing will help to continue ultimately to lower the prices for those things that I just talked about, what we wear, what we eat, what we drink, and that the money will move around February 28th, 2026, but that these farmers will be able to start applying for the assistance beginning just within the next few weeks, but the money will move in next year. So that is continuing on, but we're going to move on with our program so that we can hear about a wonderful event that's happening here in our area coming up tomorrow. It's 1:46 right now. Let's take a quick break and then we'll get to that conversation. $148 right now. We have known Home Run Inn Pizza for its tavern style thin crust since the 1940s. And once again, they are teaming up with the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services for their 4th annual holiday celebration called Miracle on 31st Street. They distribute more than 5,000 pizzas to 30 Chicago homeless shelters. And Gina Perino-Bolger, 4th generation family member and chief marketing officer for Home Run Inn Pizza, is here now with the details about this big event. Thanks so much for your time.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I love what you all are doing with this. Love the pizza on a regular basis, but tell me about the preparation for something like this.
Well, there's a lot of logistics that go into this day, but it's worth it. Our team loves doing this. Giving back is one of our core values. So it's an exciting day. We have carolers out there. We set up a Home Run Inn a box that's like our Christmas tree, and it's just a really fun day, and it means so much to us to be able to bring this joy to shelters and to those who are less fortunate around the Chicagoland area at this time of year.
Yeah, 30 shelters is huge. How do you even go about like selecting shelters or knowing where all it's going?
Yeah. Well, we rely on DFSS to bring the shelters to us, but what we do is it's almost like a big drive-through of pizzas. So we bring in our frozen truck and they bring all the pizzas out, and then we just load them into the cars. So it's very efficient now. We've learned over the last 4 years. And it's really joyous to see how grateful each of the shelters is, and just knowing how we're impacting the community, and, you know, bringing dinner to those who are less fortunate, especially at this time of the year, is really important to us.
Yeah. How'd the effort come to be?
We started a partnership with the Department of Family Support and Services in Chicago about 4 years ago. And, you know, throughout the 4 years and during COVID, we really started to saying, how can we bring pizzas and love to the communities that we serve. And so we've done multiple different events throughout the year with them. We did a back to school event with the mayor, and this one is kind of one that has stuck, and they've really appreciated. And just the gratitude that comes back from the shelters and those that we serve is really near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that, the gratitude aspect of it. What is the feedback you get about something like this?
Oh gosh, just we make people's days. You know, it's exciting to have this type of product that's a very, I mean, pizza is something that people gather around to enjoy and to share and to connect over. So being able to bring that type of product to them in this setting and just, you know, it creates those memories and connections, and that's what we're all about. So it means a lot to us to be able to share it, not only with those who come to our restaurants and those who can purchase the pizza through retailers, but also those who are less fortunate get to enjoy as well.
Gina, you are fourth generation, which is incredible in and of itself. So tell me about Home Rennin' over the years. Give us a little bit of a history lesson here on Chicago Live.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so we started back in the 1940s. We are actually the founder and the original tavern-style Chicago thin crust pizza, which started in my great-grandma's tavern. My grandfather came over from Italy, and they partnered up and said, you know, if people are going to come in and have drinks, like we can't afford popcorn or pretzels out on the bar, but we could make our pizza recipe and put it out in little squares on the bar for customers to come in and appreciate. And then, you know, a couple years in, they started to realize that customers were coming in asking for the pizza and wanted to purchase the pizza. And it was kind of like the Italian entrepreneurial light bulb went on. And we were like, wait, we should sell this. So I mean, it's a funny historical moment. And that's kind of the way our frozen pizza started as well. We were restaurant pizzas or restaurants, and a consumer came in and said, hey, I really want to take your pizza half baked back up to my house in Wisconsin. And my grandfather was like, well, what does that do? Like, how does that work? And he explained that he puts it in his ice box and then cooks it at a later time. So again, the entrepreneurial light bulb went off, and my grandfather was like, well, we should freeze pizzas and put them at the local grocery store. So we just kind of, you know, naturally evolve into the next stage of pizza.
You know what? Hearing anything Wisconsin today is a little hard coming off of the Bears game yesterday. Like, no. They went somewhere else, not Wisconsin. No, I'm playing.
Yeah.
But so you have 6 pizzerias throughout Chicagoland, and then the frozen pizzas that you were talking about, they go, of course, coast to coast. Do you have some more plans for growth in the future that you could share?
Well, we have been growing throughout the Chicagoland area. We've got a partnership with the Cubs. We have 2 branded locations in Wrigley Field, which have been phenomenal. We have locations at a very large location at Midway, and then multiple locations at O'Hare. So we're growing in that capacity in the Chicagoland market, which has been fun and exciting. We love our partners. And then outside of the market, we're really growing on the retail shelf throughout the country, which has just been really exciting. There's a lot of changes and shifts going on in the retail industry, and it's been fun to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. So what are the biggest sellers?
Classic cheese. Classic sausage here in Chicago is the #1 seller. Outside of Chicago, it's our classic cheese pizza, and then classic pepperoni is always the three staples is whatever.
Yeah, it works.
We also like to give people. We have a section on our website that's a number of recipes. And so, you know, we like to say, like, you can use our classic cheese pizza or any of our bases and really kind of customize your pizza and have fun with your kids. Maybe make a holiday pizza and cut out, you know, pepperonis into trees, or, you know, make a bougie pizza with, you know, arugula and prosciutto. So we cover all different toppings, and it's a lot of fun. Consumers have really enjoyed having that side of our product, or being able to do that with it.
That sounds amazing. I can totally see people wanting to kind of, you know, put their own little remix on it. So walk me through how things happen tomorrow. Like what time and what exactly happens?
Sure. So tomorrow between 10 and 11, we'll have the 30 shelters pull up, and they each bring a driver, and we have a checklist, and we know exactly how many cases of pizza go in each car. And then we load them up. We have jolly elves and carolers. And like I said, I was trying to describe our big Christmas tree that's made out of Home boxes. So it's a great atmosphere. It's just a really good, it's a feel good moment. And we load up a lot of pizzas. Sometimes I look at the cars, I'm like, I don't know how you're going to get, like how we're getting all these pizzas into them. But you know, it's a lot of fun, and it's not open to the public. So it is, more of an event where we're working with the shelters directly. So every year we have some consumers who show up, and unfortunately it's not a public event, but it's a lot of fun, and we enjoy those who we work with.
Did it start with 5,000 pizzas, or it's grown to 5,000 pizzas?
It's grown to 5,000. I think we started with 3,000 originally. So yeah, every year we grow. It's a lot of fun.
That's a wonderful goal to have. You know, we all want to grow in some kind of aspect each year. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you and your family have brought to Chicagoland and now across the nation for years and generations.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Happy holidays to you.
You too.
157, everyone. The pizza is so good. Oh my goodness. But I'm really happy that a lot of folks who are less fortunate will be able to have a bit of that tomorrow. Okay, it's time to take a quick break, and we'll be back with another conversation right after it. we are now in our 2 o'clock hour here on Chicago Live. Thanks for being here with us, everyone, as we start off a brand new week. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're getting to in this second hour here on the show. We're going to bring in Tina Nguyen, even though the Bears did not win yesterday. But we've got to talk about what went on in that game and how preparation begins now for our next opponents. We're up against the Browns coming up this weekend, and after all, we've got to face the Packers yet again just in 2 weeks. So we're going to talk with her as she's been at Hallis Hall today, kind of getting on top of that. We're going to talk about tech jobs and the boom that's happening and how one of our local community colleges is really taking grasp of this moment and trying to help a lot of young people as they're starting out their lives and their careers. We'll talk a little bit about the weather in our area as we are anticipating yet another round of snow. Yes, we're off to a very snowy start for this winter. More snowy, in fact, than we have in quite some time this early in the season. We'll have a discussion about the realtor reset, as a lot of people are awaiting a decision from the Fed chair this week. It will be the last of the year to see whether interest rates get cut another quarter point or whether they hold still, and what that signals for people going into the new year who may be in the market to buy a home or even sell a home. We're going to have a conversation about Our Lady of Guadalupe, the big event that's happening this week. We're going to bring in the rector to talk a little bit more about the nuanced discussion around that event this year. We'll talk about the color of the year. That's been an interesting web trender over the last couple of days. And then we want to get right now to one of our big talkers over the last couple of months, 3i Atlas. So in October and November, we had many discussions about waiting to see the images from NASA that were delayed due to the government shutdown. But the Eurospace Atlas's Jupiter Ice Moons Explorer, they call it JUICE for short. It's used several instruments of their own to make some observations. Olivier Vitassi is a project scientist with the European Space Agency, joining me now to talk more about what JUICE captured. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do you hear me well?
I can hear you just fine. What time is it in your part of the world?
They can't hear me.
I couldn't hear you. What time is it there?
9 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, 9 o'clock in the evening. Okay, all right. So thank you for being up late for us here. It's a 2:03 here in the Midwest. It was looking, your JUICE was looking for information on how Atlas was behaving and what it's made of. So what did you all find?
Yeah, so what is interesting, it's only a teaser because we took a lot of observation during a 3-week campaign in November, from the 2nd to the 25th of November, because our spacecraft JUICE was well located in the solar system. But because we are so far from the Earth, it will take some time to take all the data, and we will get all the images at the end of February. So we have to be patient. So what we have done last week is we have released only one single image that we have taken with a very special camera being used for navigating in the Jupiter system in 10 years from now. And we wanted to see if we could spot the comet with this special camera. And we managed. We released the image last week. And what we see indeed is the comet with the cometary dust around and a special tail also on it. So we were quite happy to see the comet. But it's really a teaser for what will come end of February with more images and more information.
So waiting for February for more information here, but you already got one image. How clear was it?
I think we are quite surprised because it was a challenge. JUICE was still far from the comet, 60 millions of kilometers. So that's more or less the distance between Earth and Mars. So it's very far. So we are not sure we could spot the comet. Also, the position of the comet was not precisely known. So we had to point the spacecraft towards the best point. And we are quite surprised and quite fascinated to see the comet in the middle of the image. And when we did some processing, this is the image we released last week, you really clearly see the cometary atmosphere. So we are quite surprised by that. We are quite interested.
Quite interesting indeed. We have had so many people who have just been fascinated with all of this. Were there some signs of activity? And I mean like age of disclosure type of activity.
Now, we have seen some activity, but what we call cometary activity. So the dust, the tail, there is a special tail come when the wind from the sun hit the comet. It creates a very special tail made of energetic particles. So we have seen this kind of activity, and no other sign of activity, as people used to say. So is there an alien spacecraft? What we have seen is really a comet, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think 3i Atlas has been generating so much interest?
Because that's the third interstellar object that we have discovered. So it's quite fascinating because that's an object that comes from outside the solar system. It's a relic of a formation of another solar system. So we can learn a lot from the galaxy, solar systems outside our own system. So that will tell us a lot about the formation of the solar system, the planet, and the universe in general. So that's why it's very fascinating. And it's only the third time we can see such an object. So 3i Atlas is coming now towards Jupiter. And in a few months, it will disappear, it will exit the solar system, and we will never see it again. So that's why it's a unique opportunity to learn about the solar system and the solar systems in general.
Very wow. Now, tell me again, how close did you get, and do you work now to get even closer to the next object that may come about?
Oh, so this one, we were at 60 millions of kilometers. So that's really the distance between Earth and Mars, or half of the distance between the Sun and the Earth. So it's quite a long distance. We could not change the trajectory of our JUICE spacecraft because we have to go to Jupiter. And so it was just an opportunity. So we are still quite far because the main goal of our mission is to go to Jupiter. And here we'll be very close to Jupiter and the moons of Jupiter. So this kind of object, so comet, interstellar object, it's only an opportunity, and we cannot move the spacecraft to get closer. But with our instrumentation, we managed to get some images, so it's already quite good.
What more are you hoping to learn or find out about Jupiter?
So our mission, so we have to be patient because we arrive in 2031. But once we are there, we'll orbit Jupiter, and at the end, we'll orbit one of the biggest moons of the solar system, which is called Ganymede. And we are going to study the big moons of Jupiter because there is more water, liquid water, inside the moons than on Earth. So it's quite fascinating object because there is a lot of question about search for life. Is there life outside Earth? And for that, we need to know where is the liquid water in the solar system. And the big moons of Jupiter, they are the best place, or some of the best places in the solar system to study liquid water and possibly extraterrestrial life.
So when you look for water, like you said, then you're looking for extraterrestrial life. Is it possible, though, that extraterrestrials could be somewhere without water? Maybe they don't need water.
Yeah, but what we know about life is that we need water. We know that life on Earth started on the ocean. So the life as we know, we need water. Of course, there is always the possibility to have life without water. But with the current state of the knowledge, we think that water is the key ingredient to look for life. So with JUICE, we are going to study more water inside the moons of Jupiter to see how much water, what's the composition, the temperature, how deep is the ocean underneath the surface of the moon. And then based on the information we are going to collect in 5-10 years from now, we will discuss whether those places, so moons around giant planet, could potentially host life. But that will be for the future generation of mission, step by step, of course.
It's really amazing stuff here. And just talk about how technology has evolved to even get us to this point, and what more you need to do to be able to get to the next step.
So technology is very important for space. So for example, to go to Jupiter, we are far from the Earth and far from the Sun. So we need to have systems that give power to the spacecraft and our instrument. In our case, we are using the best technology in terms of solar panels. But we can also use that was used by NASA in the past, and they will be used that in the future, to use also a system based on nuclear power, because when we are far from the sun, we need this kind of power, of energy. So when we design a mission to explore the solar system, we really develop the most cutting edge technology, and this is the case also for JUICE, in particular in the term of solar power generation.
So, do you all consult at all with NASA? I mean, obviously you're on different projects, but do you all kind of have a meeting of the minds at all at any point in time? Do you share any tips or anything like that?
Yeah, we work really together because in science and also in particular in the solar system exploration, it's always good to join forces. And in the case of our JUICE mission, at the beginning, it was a joint mission with NASA, and at some point we became independent. And then again, we are going to collaborate together with a mission called Europa Clipper, which is also en route to the Jupiter system. They will arrive in 2030. So we had regular meeting in the past, and we keep also talking to each other very regularly, like once a month, once every 2 months, to make sure that we share the information to each other, because it's always challenging to go to a planet like Jupiter, but to go in the solar system in general. So we really discuss a lot. There is a very fruitful collaboration, and on our mission, we have some NASA instrument. So it's a really clear collaboration between the two space agencies.
Wow. Okay. Teamwork is always, I think, more brains at the table is always a better thing. And what were your thoughts on their images of 3i Atlas?
In fact, so I have not yet seen the images of Europa Clipper. I know they have taken images at the same time as us, but I think they because of the government shutdown, they need to prepare their web release. But I'm pretty sure soon it will be released on the internet, and we can compare. In fact, the little anecdote is that there is a similar instrument on Europa Clipper on the NASA side and on JUICE on the European side. There is the same instrument working in the ultraviolet spectrum, so to look at the different composition in the atmospheres of the comet and the moons and the Jupiter. And we have decided to take the images at the same time. So 3i Atlas being between JUICE and Europa Clipper. And I look forward really to see this joint data from the two spacecraft from each point of the comet. So I think that will be very interesting, but I think it will be released maybe early next year. We need to check.
All right. Now, are there some other things that you think will really get people talking that you all are working on?
No, that's my main project. So we are really preparing our mission to Jupiter. It's still in 2031, but we have really a lot of work to do. And this observation campaign of Atlas was not planned at all. It was just an opportunity that came up in July. So it was a little bit disturbing our planning. But I think at the end, we got new data. So I think that's great.
Yeah, you took advantage of the moment, and who knows what that will mean for future generations. Thank you so much. Great talking with you today. Like I said, we always get so many folks who want to know more about this stuff, so we've got to bring in the great minds like yours.
Thank you very much.
All right, you take time, take the rest of the evening off, I guess, and get some rest. Thank you. All right, it's about 2:15, everyone. We'll be right back. 2:16, everyone, and Pantone, which is described as the global color authority and provider of professional color language standards and digital solutions for the design community, has introduced their color of the year, an ethereal hue, Cloud Dancer. Let's go ahead and bring in Lee Eisman, Executive Director of the Pantone Color Institute, to talk a little bit more about this. Are you wearing the color of the year?
Yes, I am.
Well, isn't it a beautiful hue?
Thank you. And of course, the glasses have to match as well.
Of course, I would expect nothing less, especially from you. Tell us a little bit about Cloud Dancer.
Well, it's a color that we chose because we're so aware of the noise, the cacophony that is surrounding us in the outlying world. And we felt it was time to bring in a color that would give us a sense of quiet, to create what we might call a blank slate, something that we could lean back, think about the clouds high in the sky, the nice white puffy clouds, and how we look forward to having those moments of quiet that allows us to be more innovative, to be able to relax, the serenity of the feeling around that. So it's a very, very mindful process. And we do have lots of people who enter into the discussion, and they're all color experts from all over the world. Where our team embraces many different countries, many different viewpoints. And it's always kind of interesting to me that even though we're, communicating with each other constantly, we're in different spaces, and yet so many times our minds are thinking along the same direction that enable us to come up with the color of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you talk to the, the issues of the day and calming our minds here, measured consideration, quiet reflection. What are the conversations like when you're trying to come up with what the color will be and why?
Well, the most important is to embrace what we call the zeitgeist. What are people saying they're asking for, what their needs are, their aspirations. And so we keep an open mind to that because that is a very important part of the message we're trying to get across. But we also look for clues in different areas. I mean, obviously fashion is going to be important. What we see coming down the runway, what we feel is going to be important for the following year. We also look at the world of interior design, what colors are showing that are prominent in interiors and will continue to be so. We look at the world of art, especially any of the hot artists and what they're doing and what direction they're going in. We even look at concepts like, are the Olympics going to be held somewhere? What's the country that's in? Because that gets a lot of attention. What is the mother country of that? Is there a color that is heavily used in that particular culture, and will that spread to other areas as well? We certainly look at the entertainment world, really, really important. The music world, who are some of the upcoming artists, what are they wearing on their albums, what do they wear when they perform, and we also look at the award shows to see what the stars are wearing, because there are many, many eyes that look at those areas. We look at product development, like even industrial design. What are we seeing in the world of industrial design, even in new cars that are coming, that are going to be released for next year? What colors are they being done in? There are just so many aspects of where we look for indicators, and it goes across every single design industry, because every design industry is involved with color in some way. They have to make color choices.
Yeah, that's very true. Do you have like a list of finalists?
Well, yeah, we can come down the list of where we think we're going. But what is so amazing to me is, as I said, we're all over the world, our team, and yet many of us arrive at that particular spot at the same time. I mean, one of my cohorts in Milano will come up with reasoning for a color, and I'm thinking, I'm right on that. I understand that. I get that. And so much of that comes from so much of our team. And I think it's because we're all colorists. I mean, we live and breathe the usage of color.
Uh-huh.
And as a result, our minds travel in the same direction, and we're looking for the same indicators too. And it also provides us with that international scope, that global perspective, that is, to me, one of the most fascinating parts of what we do. That no matter where you are in the world, often people are looking for the same thing. And with Cloud Dancer, we felt such a commonality, this need for the quiet, to get that noise out of our lives, to be able to focus, to look up to the skies, and as I said, to see those billowy clouds. And the name Cloud Dancer, really, really speaks to us, because it talks about, looking upward, and looking to a future that is less noisy, and that we can concentrate better and focus on our creative side. And when Pantone first started out in doing the color of the year, that was one of our major interests. How can we start a conversation about color? And even people, I get on planes all the time to do presentations and such, and when people start to talk to you and they find out what I do, they're fascinated by, my job.
Yeah.
They didn't even know jobs like this existed. And they'll say, sometimes if you're talking to a man particularly, he'll say, I don't choose my clothes, I don't choose the colors for the rooms, my significant other does all of that, I don't have anything to do with that. And yet when you start to talk to them, particularly about their childhood and what they remember about color, and associations that they have with color, it can even turn into a very emotional conversation that you're having. We're sort of like color therapists when we're talking to people to find out what that color says to them, what it means to them. And with Cloud Dancer, that was very apparent, because we've done lots of studies, we've looked at studies over the years, and invariably, no matter where you live in the world, people will have pretty much the same direction. Of course, everyone has, personal likes and dislikes. If you fell off of a white bike when you were 5 years old and couldn't go out and play with your friends, you don't have memories about, maybe that white color. It's in the back of your mind. You kind of store it there. You don't know exactly why you're thinking that way, but it's still stored in the memory bank. But for the most part, what we're looking for is just the general overview and starting that conversation. And once you start a conversation about color, it's just amazing. People really get interested and involved, and they want to share their feelings with you. And they start to think about this when they're choosing colors for their home, for their wardrobe, wherever you're choosing colors. And of course, at Pantone, one of the things that we do is to help companies decide on what color is going to work best for their particular constituency, for their consumers, because there is that psychological meaning behind every color, and we know that it's going to have some appeal in some direction, and we just help to look at the clues that lead us down that pathway. It's a fascinating field.
It really is, yeah. It is. So what was last year's color? And do we see that there are some pattern trends like that got us to Cloud Dancer today?
Well, I think that in answer to your question, we're still in 25. The color is Mocha Mousse, which of course is is a wonderful color. I mean, we start to salivate the minute we hear the name of it. Beautiful shade of brown that we have to say really started the ball rolling on brown. I mean, it has been a really, really big color this year in so many applications. And that color too was giving yourself that moment to relax, to have that delicious drink, to indulge yourself, to take the time to do that out of a busy life. And so Cloud Dancer really, even though it's a very different kind of a color, takes that same feeling and takes it to the next level of again looking up at the clouds, trying to find that absolute quiet space. So what we do from year to year is to try to find that feeling, that emotion that speaks to the color, and then there often is a connection from one year to the next, depending on what's happening in the world around us, because that's very much a part of our thinking process.
I like mocha mousse. How far in advance do you all start working and tracking the trends to get to the announcement for the upcoming year?
We start pretty early in the year before, usually in the springtime, but we're sort of like squirrels connecting our little nuts of wisdom, pulling in all of these references. And we do our research, we do a lot of homework, we talk to the other members of the team, and before you know it, there is a pathway that we start to see that leads us down there. So we have to start pretty early in the year before, but I would say about springtime, and then we keep collecting information, keep continuing to do our research that will add to the direction that we fear we should go in. And with Cloud Dancer, it was pretty clear, pretty early in the year, and then we kept seeing other clues that led us to Cloud Dancer.
And when did you all begin doing the color of the year?
In 1999. And the reason that we started was that people were very interested in knowing our opinions of what was going to happen in the new millennium. It was kind of a little bit of a scary time because people were concerned, the clocks were going to stop and all kinds of things were going to happen. Yes. So it was scary. And on the other hand, there were people who were saying, ooh, a new millennium, isn't that exciting? Isn't that fantastic? So we had to try to encapsulate both of those feelings. And what we put out was a cerulean blue, a beautiful blue, because we felt that represented the future and a more optimistic view of the future, what is lying in front of us. Let's get rid of the fear and let's hope for the best in the new millennium. And it really, the reaction that we got was fabulous. People started to write in, email, early days, 1999, not what it is now with all the social media. But they were so fascinated by it. And we were just overwhelmed by the response that we got and realized that we needed to continue on for every year because people just love to talk about the color of the year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm wearing red. It's one of my favorite colors. But what would you all call this color? Because I just love the way you all name things.
Well, it's definitely a fiery red. Does that tell us a little bit about your personality?
Maybe a little. Maybe a little.
It's a great color on you, by the way.
Thank you so much. And thank you for what you all do on a regular basis. This is really interesting stuff. Thank you. Great chatting with you today.
Thank you.
All right. 2:30, everyone. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, we're taking you to Florida here for a live picture. Apparently, there is a single engine plane that has crash landed on a road here. This is in DeLand, Florida, where we're seeing this picture. You can see the sheriff's vehicle that's right next to the plane that's on the ground here. If you're at all familiar with this area, that is Highway 92 in that area that's been now and will be closed for several hours as they continue to investigate in this area. What we know from our sister station in this area is that 2 people were on the plane when it crashed. Both were injured. Both of the people were injured here. Again, with this single engine plane crash that has landed in an area around Highway 92. It's a single engine Cessna plane. Reportedly went down around 2 p.m. there on the East Coast. So in our 1 o'clock hour, sometime in that time frame, this plane went down. And again, 2 people were on board. They were injured but conscious, I'm seeing here, and taken to a hospital. So our sister station is working to learn more here. That area is going to be closed for quite some time, just hoping that the people who were on board will be okay. We do have a major event that's going to be happening here in our area later on this week, and we're learning more information about it today. We always see people come from near and far for a pilgrimage to Our Lady of Guadalupe every year in Des Plaines, cold or not, rain or shine. And so you'll be hearing us talk a little bit more about it as the week goes on. I believe they are anticipating having people come on Thursday and Friday. So we'll be bringing in people to have a conversation about that later on in the week. Just stay with us as we work to get more of the leaders from the church to talk about what it means for people, especially this year, and the raids that we have been having with Operation Midway Blitz, and even over this past weekend, a major raid that took place in Elgin. So it has a different meaning. It's always very emotional when we see people go there each year, but definitely has a different meaning for so many people, immigrant communities especially, who make that pilgrimage to Our Lady of Guadalupe and Des Plaines each year. Stay with us. Throughout the week, we'll be pulling in more people to talk a little bit more about that. They held a press conference earlier today, so we were hoping to get someone in to talk about it now, but we'll push that to a little bit later on in the week or whenever we can bring them in, because it is always a massive event in our area. One major talker that is trending on the web right now, though, is the realtor reset. If you're wondering what that is, could mean good things for the year ahead. Let's bring in the senior economic research analyst at Realtor.com, Hannah Jones, to talk about the expectation for those who may be in the housing market. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So what is the Realtor reset?
Yeah, so we think that, next year, looking ahead in 2026, we're seeing that, buyers are going to get a little bit more power back in the housing market after some really challenging years. So it's not going to be a full, back to the races, but we do expect affordability to improve a little bit, which could help get, the wheels of the housing market turning a little faster.
Okay. And so talk about why it's important to have that conversation this week. Like, why would it be trending on the web this week?
Yeah, so, we're, of course, at the end of the year, and we're starting to think about, what could we be doing in 2026? And a lot of buyers, who have maybe been discouraged are thinking, I really want to get into the housing market next spring. And so it's important to kind of set those expectations. We do expect to see that mortgage rates will soften a little bit on average next year. And, home prices won't rise as fast as inflation, which just means that, buyers are going to have a little bit more buying power in 2026 compared to 2025.
Buying power. If people are new to this home buying experience, and it is an emotional one, quite frankly, whether
Absolutely.
you're new or whether you've been at it. Each time I have purchased a property, it's emotional. So walk people through, if they're looking now, some of the things that they should be thinking about, preparing for, marching into the new year.
Absolutely. So, we recommend really getting a good understanding of what kind of budget you're going to be working with. That's a good way to understand, how much can I spend each month on housing, and how much will that get me in the area I'm interested in? And so that can help you kind of temper your expectations. How much can I get for what I'm able to spend? And, does that suggest that I need to expand where I'm looking, maybe adjust what I'm looking for, or can I really afford what I want in the area I want to buy in? And so I think those are really good things to start working on, looking at websites like realtor.com to look at homes that are for sale and really start to set those expectations of what's on the market, what can I afford, and where are those homes.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about less volatility, how volatile has it been over the last year?
Yeah, so over the last year, we have seen some bigger swings in mortgage rates, but in general, we have seen this slow, inching forward, this progress in inventory, which has been, much needed in the U.S. housing market for years. During the pandemic, we saw very few homes on the market, and now nationally, we do see a lot more available inventory, which means that buyers are seeing a more balanced market. There's less power in the hands of sellers and a little bit more in the hands of buyers, which just means that there are more negotiations that are able to happen. Homes are spending a little longer on the market. You can find more inventory. And so we expect that to continue into 2026, which is great news for people who've been waiting to buy a home or have been really nervous to get into this housing market because there haven't been many homes available. We do expect to see inventory continue to improve.
Yeah, and when we talk about easing affordability pressure, what have been some of the major pressures on people when it comes from that side of thing in terms of just affordability?
Yeah, people have seen a lot of pressure because of high home prices. Home prices have, in most of the country, increased pretty significantly if you look over the last 5 years. And then also from the other side, you see mortgage rates. So both high home prices and high mortgage rates mean that those monthly payments are getting heavier and heavier. And so more and more households are choosing not to get into the housing market, to keep renting, to put off that dream of homeownership for a little bit longer. But affordability has started to improve. We expect it to continue to gently improve, so those kind of sideline buyers can start asking that question again of, am I ready to get into the housing market?
Am I ready to get in it? Consider all things before you do. Thank you so much, Hannah. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, everyone, I was mentioning before we got to Hannah, Our Lady of Guadalupe, the major pilgrimage that takes place at the end of this week. I do believe we have the rector on the line now, Ezekiel Sanchez. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. I think it's extremely important to have this conversation, every year, because there are always so many people who come, rain or shine, icy outside, whatever the case may be. But would you agree that this year holds a bit of a different weight?
There's always some challenge of some reason for people not to come, but they come anyway in great numbers. Yes, particularly this year. Folks are concerned about their well-being, particularly concerning the operations, concerning our homeland security. And that's caused a pause for a lot of people doing a lot of things. But this one is meant to bring hope to people. So when we tell people, not just for the people who may have troubles with their immigration status, but anyone, if you're older and it's harder for you this year, or it's the cold is extreme for you, we want people to be safe. Happily, we can organize. We've organized here with our local law enforcement. We've working a lot to prepare. Every year it's a whole production, so we start working early on in the year to make sure everybody can have a wonderful, good experience, but more importantly, a safe one.
Yeah, and when you speak of a safe experience here, we just got in a statement from the Department of Homeland Security regarding the feast day coming up this week. And it says, Undersecretary Noem and our brave law enforcement officers, they're delivering on President Trump's and the American people's mandate to arrest and deport criminal illegal aliens to make America safe. These are their words again. Removing dangerous criminals from our streets. It is safer for everyone, including business owners and their customers. Those who are not here illegally, are not breaking other laws, have nothing to fear. Elected officials choosing to fearmonger by distorting reality are doing a great disservice to our country and are responsible for the nearly 1,000% increase in assaults on ICE officers. Let's be clear, ICE does not target churches or houses of worship. What are your thoughts on that statement?
I have no argument with that statement. That's exactly what we were saying. The challenge for us is there, so that absence of communication and conversation. So if they said that, well, we're fine with it. We're not telling ICE what to do. We're not talking to anybody what to do. The only thing we're asking for folks to do is what it is you feel comfortable with. Not just, like I said, we don't limit this to just the people who are involved with issues concerning ICE, but also just we want to keep everyone safe in their participation. And so when people do have a reason for not being able to come, once again, if it's the cold, it's age, it's illness, or whatever, we're trying to bring more and more of what the purpose of the feast day is it's reaching out to a brother or sister who's maybe having a hard time of life. I mean, last year, one of the wonderful anecdotes I gave was a gentleman came walking on his knees for over a mile. And then I asked him, what is the extreme of your penance? And he said, well, my daughter is very, very sick. She needs a transplant. I have no money. And I'm praying so hard that we find a solution. And these are the kinds of things that people will come here with. So whether it's immigration or with family problems, we just want to tell people that when you come here, of course, we want to keep everybody safe. And so when the officers, the local municipality here at Des Plaines, you know, they're here to keep the peace, to keep people safe and have a good experience.
Yeah. How many people do you anticipate coming out? Like, do you have a number for how many people came out last year?
Last year is the number who gives us that is normally the police department, because they're the ones keeping an eye on how many people are going through, and their estimates are the ones we go by. Normally around 300,000 last year. Again, they go through very really briskly, and they stay for a little while. But the goal of the pilgrimage is not just when you get here, but the journey itself offers itself an experience of community and doing things together, even though it's hard. But when you get there, it's a sign of completion. I did it. I fulfilled it, and I can go home, get something to eat, get some hot chocolate, get something good to eat, and head on home. And really, it's really meant to be something of a challenge for yourself, and it has a destination. In this case, it's Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah. The Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe is the largest gathering of pilgrims, as I understand it, honoring Our Lady of Guadalupe in the country. Why do you think it's the largest in the country? And, what will be different this year?
Wonderfully, we have, believe it or not, it's not only Catholics. We have a wonderful ecumenical part of it this year. Our brothers and sisters in the Episcopal Archdiocese of Chicago and other groups, whether it's Lutherans or Presbyterians or other groups that want to participate in this, because they see it as, when we come together all in prayer, you don't have to come to a mass if you don't want to. It's an outdoor experience, and it's something they're interested in participating with. But now, as they see people going through so many troubles, they want to make sure that they feel comfortable in saying that we can join you and be in solidarity, not just with the concerns of the people, but walk with them, with their own parishioners, with their own concerns, and say, you know what, that's where the miracle is, that's where the magic is, when people are strangers helping each other out. And it's I can't explain it. I always tell people, you got to come. When you see the cold we go through, when you see the kind of courage people are expressing, when you see the love in their hearts when they put their flowers down, and you see the help they give each other, oh my God, it's undescribable often, and I'm honored to be able to serve in them. So this year you're gonna find new people, you're gonna find more people. Pilgrims come from all over the country, and so we're here to serve them. We're here to get them, and we certainly polish the place up, and hopefully it'll look beautiful, well lit, and have a great experience too.
I certainly hope that you all have a wonderful experience as well. How long have you been there?
Almost 10 years now.
10 years. And how has it changed in the time that you've been there?
Oh, quite a bit. When you have something with this kinds of numbers that we're talking about, logistics go up. The more organized you have to be. We have over 400 volunteers will be working for the 32 hours that we're going to be up and supporting. The idea is to be welcoming to everybody. Hospitality is everything. Keeping an eye for safety is everything. Guiding people to where they need to go. Bathrooms, you'll be amazed at all the logistics that has to come. Sometimes when people say, how many people exactly come? And I say, well, if you ever been to Lollapalooza, can you tell me exactly how many people showed up? And so it's kind of that way. I was like, well, if you can't tell me that, it's very difficult. We can estimate. But the best part about it is, out of all the years I've been here, thank God, we have never had an incident that really cost someone anything significant of their life or their health. We do make sure people come for why we came. It's not a drinking party. It's not a fiesta. You're not going to see a famous artist in that performing or anything. The only thing we want to focus on is the person of our faith, who is Mary, the mother of Jesus, and through her and with her son, we're going to deal with 2026 together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what does it mean to you to see people come from near and far every year?
Well, remember, I'm a pastor, so I try to be a good priest, and so I listen a lot throughout the entire year. The community opens their heart. A shrine that's really the nature of it. It's a place people come to and open their hearts and talk about what they really are going through. They can do that in their parishes. They can do that in their home neighborhood, in their home churches. But something special comes where you go to a special designated place where this particular faith expression you can learn about or express in yourself. And so I'm always humbled to just listen to the details of what people are going on, whether they lost their jobs, whether a relationship problem or family disintegration, or thinking about getting married. We have all kinds of immigrants from all over the globe, and they come to visit from all colors and all sizes. And it's an honor for me, primarily because if I can help people in a small way, for example, with the anxieties that people are going through because of economics or because healthcare issues or whatever, that's given a lot of stress to people. And as we've learned through COVID, you keep that locked up, it's going to hurt you. And it has hurt people a lot, particularly as we're talking about more depression and mental health issues continue to rise. So this is a place where you can at least let it out and be part of something in a community.
Yeah, my mother's favorite song starts with "If I can help somebody if they travel along." So you kind of spoke to that right there. What do you say to people who may be hesitant this year, given the raids that we've had over the last few months?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I always tell people, be safe. Don't do something you can't do. For whatever reason, you can't do it. Again, I'm grateful for the message from ICE, but that's not our message at all. We're not telling anybody who's welcomed and who's not. We're telling them the reason why we're doing here is to bring peace to people, is to have a citizenry that's calm. Most of the people that you may or may not know that come here are your neighbors. And it makes a big deal to them to have a good neighbor, have someone who's opening their heart, who has a religious life, is believing in something, is reaching out to something. So we ask people, if you know people who can't come, think about knocking on a door and say, you know what, I'm going. Would you like me to take your flowers? Can I take your petitions? What do you want to pray for? And I'll take it with me. I'll carry it. I will pilgrim with you in my heart. Wow, that's a major thing to say to somebody, and it brings so much consolation.
Yeah. What do you, I will take it with me in your heart. It is very powerful indeed. Thank you so much for your time, for your prayers, for the community. And I wish you all the very best this week with the pilgrimage.
Well, we're going to pray for you all and all our people here in Chicago. We love you all. We're all one community. And so let's find solutions to our problems, but always we do so together. And prayer helps. And this is just my part of doing the best for our community all over Chicago.
Thank you. Thank you, Rector. We appreciate you. 2:52, everyone. Let's take a quick break.
Right.
on 2:55 right now, and as we close out this 2 o'clock hour here, there are so many students who are getting ready to take on life and new opportunities, and they look at it through a different lens. Each and every person who's getting ready to come out of whatever type of school they are, they have something unique inside of them, and you got to find what works for them. And so Waubonsie Community College is trying to find recession-proof ways to help their students along. Dr. Brian Canettle, the president of Waubonsie Community College, is joining me now to talk a little bit more about what they're doing to prepare their students for the next part of their lives. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I appreciate the introduction.
So tell me about the new Tech Center.
Yeah, so this is a brand new technical education center on our Sugar Grove campus. It is a beautiful 100,000 square foot building that is allowing us to expand our opportunities for students in some of our most popular career and technical education programs. So we've got automotive programs and welding programs that have been really popular for a long time. And when registration opens up in those classes, they fill up very quickly. And so our board saw the need for expanded space and expanded opportunity. And so this fall, we were proud to open this new technical education center that is going to allow more students to enroll in these programs, these high demand programs or recession proof programs where students, once they're done, are into jobs where there's a lot of demand and the pay is just really, really good for them and for their families.
Talk about why that's important right now.
Yeah, so many of our students come to us, with the desire to improve their situation, to improve their lives. And, making sure that we are providing education and providing programs where the time and the money that they invest in us, that when they're done and they leave here, that they really have a job or a transfer opportunity that they can count on to get them ready for that next level. And we all know times are difficult. There's shortage of jobs and the world is changing with AI and all kinds of opportunities. And so the more that we can provide students with programs that they can rely on once they leave here, the more important that is for us.
How many students do you expect to be able to serve each year?
So our enrollment, Waubonsie in general serves about 12,000 students every year. In these programs, we expect to double our cohort. So we're going to probably see up to 200 students in each of these programs. Our enrollment in our welding programs alone increased by 60%. So we have over 120 sections of welding courses offered, and the majority of our automotive programs that we enrolled were full or near capacity. So we are really, the building had a promise of providing more opportunity, and we're really trying to live up to that promise.
Yeah, what are some of the stories that you hear from students who choose these routes?
So I think one of the big stories is something you touched on the introduction, is I think a lot of students are trying to figure out what's next after high school. And for a lot of students, they know they want to go to a 4-year school. They want to go to a 2-year school and transfer to a 4-year, or maybe they're interested in military service. But there's other students who, they're good with their hands. Maybe they didn't always feel that school is the right thing for them, or they had interests that weren't always nurtured in high school. And so a lot of the stories we hear from students is, I really like working on cars. I really like healthcare, but I don't necessarily know that I want to spend 4 years in school to do that. We have programs that cater to those different interests that you talked about. And so a lot of the stories we hear from students are that I didn't think I was going to go to college. I didn't think I was going to get a certificate or a degree. And then I found Waubonsie. I found welding. I found automotive. I found HVAC careers, heating, venting, air conditioning. And not only did I like it, it aligned with something that I really wanted to do. And now, after 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, I'm in a job that's paying me a lot of money for myself and for my family.
Yeah, and we're certainly seeing, I think, a psychological change in terms of our country, how people look at 4-year versus 2-year colleges. And, about 10, 15, especially 20 years ago, as opposed to how people look at it now, is gravely different.
Yeah, we're seeing, what we talk about here is creating and validating more pathways for students. So the 2-year to 4-year, the direct to 4-year, that's always been there, and it's going to continue to be there. We have great partnerships with our 4-year institutions, and if students in our community go right to those 4 years and are successful, that's great. If they come to us for 2 years or longer and then transfer and are successful, that's great. But we know for a lot of students, there's different pathways, and we're starting to see more and more of our high school partners, more and more of our industry partners, and just a broader kind of openness to those different types of pathways that our students might take, especially into those career and technical fields, especially when you think that, for a shorter period of time, a much more economical investment, you can get out and into one of those high-paying jobs.
Yeah. So if someone is seeing this right now, and whether it's the student themselves or whether it's a parent or guardian, what are some of the steps to be a part of a program in this new tech center?
Yeah, the best thing to do, I'll say 2 things. One, go to our website. Waubonsee's website is great. It'll have all the information that you need, and you can search Technical Education Center or automotive or the program that you're interested in, and you should be directed to one of those pages. The other thing I would say is we're on social media, so check all of our social media pages, and anybody that's really interested in these programs or this building, I would certainly invite to reach out to our admissions department, and we'd be happy to welcome you on campus, give you a tour, you and your family, and just tell you more about the programs, everything we have to offer, and what some of the different outcomes and pathways you can take when you're done with us.
Is this just a part of the boom at Waubonsee? Are there some other things, big things that you have planned that are going to come to fruition soon?
Yeah, we have a new strategic plan. It's a 5-year plan called RISE 2030, and RISE is an acronym for redefining our relationship with the community, investing in academic innovation, strengthening the student experience, and enhancing the employee experience. And we really like thinking of this as a bold plan that is going to lead us over the next 5 years. And so, when we talk about invest in academic innovation, we're talking about these buildings. We're also talking about new ways to support our faculty with new technologies and new teaching methods. We want to support our students from start through completion, so that once they interact with Waubonsee for the first time, we're doing everything we can to make sure they're not only successful here, but they're successful when they leave Waubonsee. I already talked a little bit about redefining our relationship with with the Technical Education Center, but a big part of our plan is in enhancing our employee experience. And we know for every organization, it's our employees that take care of our students and interact with the community, and we want to make sure we're doing our part to take care of our employees as well.
Dr. Canetto, wonderful having a conversation with you today. Best of luck with the boom, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. Everyone, we're in our 3 o'clock hour. We're going to do a little switcheroo here. Tia Ewing is going to come up and relieve me. I've been here since early this morning, and I will see you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. But stay right where you are. We're going to take a break, and she's going to come in, and I'm going to head out. Take care.
Welcome to Chicago Live. It is 3:06 on your Monday afternoon. We have just switched hosts, and I am Tia Ewing. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Let's talk about the city of Chicago. We have heard out of the mouth of Brandon Johnson saying words like, a safe and better, more sustainable Chicago really lies on the shoulders of the youth. And very interesting information coming out of the city of Chicago today. We're learning that youth summer job providers, they are outraged that alders are supporting massive cuts to youth jobs right now. And we want to bring in someone that knows all about it. This person has actually benefited from having a youth job, a summer job in the city that was provided by the city through funding through the arts of nonprofits. And this is Itohan Osayeg-Bovo. Thank you so much for being with us right now. You're with the Chicago Black Voter Project. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name. If I did, make sure you correct me. I want to talk to you about this very important issue. Let's first start out with your own story that you have of being able to be a participant in a youth summer job. What was that like for you?
Yes, first, thank you so much for having me. Yes, you did not butcher my name. My name is Itohan Osayeg-Bovo. I was able to participate in a program at the Guild Complex and through Young Chicago Authors when I was 15 years old that allowed me to meet with other young poets from across the city and come and learn from some of the most well-respected poets, not just in Chicago, but in the country and in the world. And it was very important to me to not only have an opportunity to share my story, but to be compensated to do something that I love that helped me develop a strong identity and sense of self and connection to community in my city, really probably changed the trajectory of my life. And when I think about youth jobs, I think about that. I think about personal development. I think about identity. I think about it's helpful to be able to help your parents or your household out with some groceries or be able to take care of your own cell phone bill or your school fees. But it's a different thing to invest in the lives of people and allow them to do what they love and get paid for that.
This has been a big push since Mayor Brandon Johnson got in office, making sure that youth have something to do, have a summer job, actually receiving monetary compensation for it, like you just stated. We know 26 older people, they're actually the ones that are pushing for these cuts. The cuts come down to 5,100 youth summer jobs. What does that look like in your mind? We know that a lot of these jobs have been pointed to being reducers of violence in the community. What does that look like in your mind to hear that 5,100 jobs will be cut from the youth around the city of Chicago?
What I hear when I hear 5,100 jobs cut is 5,100 young people who may not have what they need on a day-to-day basis to survive. What I hear is young people who will have more idle time to be on the street and maybe in unsafe conditions or exposed to predatory people or behaviors. I also hear the loss of, again, an opportunity to learn yourself and to develop in ways that were afforded to myself and other people that I know who've grown up in the city of Chicago. It's disappointing, to say the least. It's honestly very confusing when you see all of the attention on teen trends and this idea that the young people in Chicago are violent, when the reality is that they're underinvested in, and we could do so much better. So at a time when we should be investing more in them, the idea of cuts just really doesn't make much sense.
I know you have decades of experience in youth mentorship. What are some of the challenges? I know we hear you mentioned the teen trends, for example. What are some of the challenges that young people in the city of Chicago face? And then tell me how these youth jobs would be able to curb some of those issues.
When we think about young people, first of all, we're talking about people who are brilliant and creative and oftentimes more free in their self-expression and their ability to learn and their ability to contribute to society. So when we refuse to allow them opportunities, and specifically opportunities in their neighborhoods, at community centers, at organizations that have invested not only in their lives, but in their family lives, we create a kind of a chasm in the community. We create opportunities again for harm. And when we're thinking about a time when people are choosing between like rent and groceries or paying for transportation or healthcare, again, we're putting a burden on young people that they do not deserve. And I think what needs to be clear to the older people who signed this letter and city council as a whole is that we have a choice to make. We do have, a deficit in the budget, and it's either going to be balanced on the backs of working people, and in this case, our youngest and most vulnerable working people, or corporations are going to have to pay their fair share and show true investment in the city of Chicago, starting with the young people.
Itohan, I'm looking at this, and it says here 2025 was Chicago's safest summer in 60 years because of the record investment, particularly in youth employment and violence prevention programs. How do you think this shakes out, these 5,100 jobs being lost when we project to next summer? Do you fear that maybe these numbers won't be as productive as they have been this past summer?
I don't think that is a fear, because I think that the data supports the opposite, that, we have incredible organizations like Good Kids Mad City, and we've seen youth peacekeepers truly bring down violence in their communities through peer-to-peer mediation. This is not something that anyone but the youth of Chicago can do. They are the most qualified to speak to the circumstances in their neighborhoods, and they are the most qualified to reach their peers. So I think that we should, again, be expanding these programs and learning from the leadership of our young people in the city.
What's your message to the older people that are voting for this, voting for these jobs to be eliminated?
I think, again, it comes down to their understanding of what we value and what our position is as leaders in the city of Chicago. They're elected officials who represent their constituents and who are charged with hearing from them. And I think the young people in Chicago are saying loud and clear that they have to choose them and making the investment in their well-being and their futures, instead of protecting corporations who are, again, receiving some of the largest tax breaks that they have ever in history. And again, young people and their families are facing record disinvestment, and again, in healthcare and education, and they're just trying to make ends meet. So I think the message to the older people is that they have a choice to make, and the choice should be Chicago's youth.
What do you think happens, though? 5,100 less jobs for youth next summer. What do you think that looks like? What will those youth have to do? What will they possibly be doing? Are there any other organizations out there that can provide maybe not 5,100 jobs, but some jobs to kind of fix this?
I mean, the reality is that cutting jobs doesn't just lead to a disruption of life. It costs lives. It literally costs lives. And we're talking about, again, people in communities that they're having to maybe warm their homes using their oven. I know people who've experienced that right now. Again, people who are trying to find ways to pay for their transportation or their health care. And these are choices that are already hurting families. So when we think about 5,100 less jobs, that's 5,100 less youth who are bringing something to the table of these households. That's 5,100 less young people that are occupied through the summer doing something that they enjoy and can also be compensated for. That's 5,100 more young people that may be vulnerable to things like houselessness. This is unacceptable for us, and that's not a future that I even care to imagine, and that's why we're in this fight today.
I'm just curious because we have heard from people on the other side that say, Chicago cannot afford, the state of Illinois as a whole, cannot afford to lose big businesses. Obviously, this proposal eliminates, the community safety surcharge, which would have asked the wealthiest 3% of corporations to pay just a little bit more. What's your take on that? When you hear people say, because we have heard it, people say, let's not tax the businesses anymore. We need them to stay put. We need them here in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, I would just say, I think what we cannot afford to lose is the trust of the young people that we have in the city of Chicago and the investment in them. And I would also say that when we look at cities like New York or we look at states like Massachusetts, and we've seen corporations taxed in other cities and other places, and it has not led to a mass exodus of businesses and opportunities for economic growth for those cities. So I think we have to be also realistic in what we're forecasting. Yes, there's a choice to make, and I think the choice again is clear, because we know that we can't afford, as working people, as working families, as young people, we cannot afford to chip in more. If everyone needs to pay their fair share, it is time for the corporations who've received record profits and record tax breaks to invest more in the city of Chicago's young people and invest more in the programs that keep us alive. We're talking about the cost of what, $21 a month per employee. These are costs that can, are equivalent to a lunch or, a gift exchange in the office. We're not asking them to pay any exorbitant fees. We're asking them to just spend a little bit more so the people in the city, their neighbors, the people that make this city run can survive the times that we're in right now.
Itohan Osayeg Bovo, I appreciate you so much for your time on the show, giving your perspective, a much needed perspective. Thank you so much for coming on Chicago Live today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. It was an absolute pleasure. Okay. So coming up, we are talking about one of the biggest boom towns in our state, and it's actually taking the top spot right here in Illinois, just a few miles down the road here. We're going to talk to the mayor of Plainfield when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Chicago Live. Wall Street pulls back from its record heights. We want to take a live look at the big board. You can see it's down 215 right now. Not the best start to the work week, but hopefully it moves a little bit better as we move through the week. So that is a look at our financials for today and how everything has turned out at close of business. We do have a lot coming up here on Chicago Live. It is a chilly day across the city of Chicago. We are going to bring in Chief Meteorologist Emily Walls to talk about the forecast. We do know that Ben Johnson, the Bears coach, is speaking right now it was not a great day for the Chicago Bears. Some say it was, to come so close to winning, but it was like we were right there. And then that last play didn't end the way we want. We will have redemption, hopefully, when Green Bay comes into our territory here at Soldier Field. And I think 2 games away from now is when they will be in the city of Chicago. And hopefully that's when we will redeem ourselves and come away with a W. But again, a nice day across Chicago right now. At least we're not dealing with snow. This is what we expect. It is winter weather, winter season here in the city of Chicago. And again, we are going to have Chief Meteorologist Emily Waz walk us through what we can expect for the rest of the work week. We're also going to get a chance to talk to the Mayor of Plainfield coming up. They're taking home a really, I would say this is really a beneficial place for them to be. In Illinois, Plainfield is #1 right now as the biggest boom town in the country. So that's interesting. I think it's amazing. So we're going to talk to the mayor about that. One thing that seems like it's really driving home that number is the affordability factor. The affordability to be able to own a home in Plainfield for the average working family, definitely a plus. So we'll talk to the mayor all about that. So stick with us right here on Chicago Live. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Chicago Live. We want to take a live look right now on the ground in DeLand, Florida. All right, so we did lose that feed. We were going to talk about a plane crash that happened. This is in DeLand, Florida. It's about 30-minute drive away from Daytona Beach. We know that Cessna did go down, a single-engine plane there, and as a result, 2 people are hurt. They had to be rushed to the hospital. That is a story that is continuing to develop, and of course, if anything happens right here, we will bring it to you right here on Chicago Live. We do want to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to our chief meteorologist, Emily Waz, about a check of the week's forecast. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Chicago Live. As promised, our chief meteorologist, Emily Walls, is here with a check of the forecast this week. The first question I have for you is, will we have to deal with more snow?
We do have more snow in the forecast, so we're kind of stuck in this weather pattern. Look at her. You're excited.
I'm not
right?
excited. I'm just used to it. It's like one of those things where I'm one of those people where you could complain about it or you could just live with it.
I'm living
with
the snow
it
so far.
Yeah.
We've definitely, had our travel woes with the last several systems. This week, I don't think we're looking at systems that are going to be quite as impactful as what we did have over the last week and a half or so, but we're still going to be dealing with precipitation coming through during rush hours, and there's a couple different things that we're keeping a close eye on. So we're stuck in this weather pattern where we have several clipper systems, they're called. So they're coming down from Canada, and they're just going to parade through the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes. Some of them going to miss us to the north, some are missing us to the south, but the one that I'm watching closely is going to be Tuesday afternoon and evening, and then lasting into the day on Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
So, yes. So it doesn't look like it's going to be, a really widespread event all at once, but the scattered activity that we have coming through tomorrow is going to come down likely in the form of a rain-snow mixture, but the problem is that during the day on Tuesday, that high of 34, a lot of us are going to end up being in the mid, maybe even close to upper 30s by the end of the evening. So temperatures are going to be rising all day on Tuesday and then continue to rise into the evening. But if that precipitation arrives before those temps reach 33, 34 degrees, then we could actually be dealing with, at
ice
least
skating?
Yes,
That's
a
what it
couple
sounds
hours
like,
of freezing rain, or, if that's coinciding with the cold ground temperatures. So Tuesday afternoon and evening, there are still a lot of uncertainties with the system, but just know that for that afternoon and evening commute, we really have to pay attention to what's going on around us, because if you are seeing rain coming down, falling on your windshields, there's a good chance that the ground temperatures are still going to be below freezing, which means any untreated surfaces could become icy.
It could be black ice.
Yes.
That's
so we
dangerous.
have to keep that in mind for Tuesday. But again, it's not going to be this wall of rain coming through. I think it's going to be more scattered in nature Tuesday afternoon. So not everybody's going to see it. But then our precipitation chances, they are expected to increase Tuesday night, lasting into Wednesday. By Wednesday, highs still look like they're going to be in the 30s, but then we're going to drop during the day.
Yeah.
So then we're switching over to snow shower activity again. So we could have some of those heavier snow showers coming through during the Wednesday morning commute, and then just kind of periodically through the day. But as far as accumulation goes, it doesn't look like we're getting this widespread event on Wednesday, but no, with some of those heavier showers as they kind of pass by, as they're scattered in nature, they could be creating reduced visibilities, slick and very quickly changing travel conditions. And then Thursday and Friday, it's back to the cold. So this coming weekend, we have another round of, it is technically part of the polar vortex that we're going to be dealing with again this upcoming weekend. So another blast of Arctic air. Friday night into Saturday, low temperatures go down to about 0 for a lot of us. A lot of our usual cold spots, think the far west, northwest suburbs, places like Aurora, DeKalb. For those of you in Woodstock, you're very, very easily looking at below 0 temps. But wind chill temperatures Friday night into Saturday could be coming pretty close to that cold weather advisory criteria, which is putting us down to -20 with the wind chill.
Why is it always the weekend is when the bottom drops out?
It has been that way so far this month, but it's kind of par for the course at this point. We're going to keep it going for another week. The latest Climate Prediction Center outlook, taking us all the way through about the 20th of the month, has us staying below average. But then after that, we could see a pattern flip-flop late this month, of course, leading into the Christmas holiday.
A pattern of?
A warming pattern.
Ooh,
yes.
okay.
But we always have to keep in mind what's average for this time of the year, because that's all those maps are showing us, is that we're favored to see above average conditions, but average by the end of this month, low to mid-30s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess Santa and his reindeer won't have any issues with the snow, maybe some ice.
And after the Thanksgiving travel that so many people had to deal with, if we could smooth sail through Christmas,
I think everybody would be
I
all
think
good.
people would be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, that would be like a Christmas present.
Yes, I agree.
All right, Emily, it is always a pleasure to have you here. It sounds like we got to do some bundling up seriously as we head towards the weekend. That is for sure.
Well, and we already went through, 2 rounds now. This is going to be round 3. We're getting used to it. We can do it.
Are we?
We're dealing with it.
We're
How about
dealing
that?
with it. The driver's got to still get used to it.
Yeah.
That's where the challenge comes out there on the road. So make sure you guys brace yourself for that. Black ice is serious. Slow down. That is the best advice we can give. All right, Emily, I know you got to go do the 4 o'clock show, so we won't keep you. Emily Walls, everybody. Thank you so much, Emily, for that update. Stay with us. We're going to be talking to the Salvation Army of Northwest Indiana right after this break. Welcome back to Chicago Live. Maybe you've been a passenger on the plane. Maybe you've walked through a hospital and you thought, man, I wonder if this air is clean. And most of us usually think that it's not, but actually a very new study out of Northwestern University will have you thinking much differently. This is a study about airplane and hospital air, and it actually may be cleaner than you think. This is the first study to use worn face masks as a passive tool to monitor indoor air. And one of the lead people on the study here is researcher Erica M. Hartman with Northwestern University. Erica, thank you so much for your time and coming on the show with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Let's talk about this. So the team did some research about these face masks, and what did you find?
So our biggest question was actually, is this possible? We wanted to see if collecting the face masks that people had worn, for example, on a plane, was actually a way of seeing what had been in the air and what they would have been exposed to if they hadn't been wearing that face mask. And the answer is yes, we can.
I'm looking at one of the sentences from the information on the study. It says, across all samples, the team detected 407 distinct microbial species, including common skin bacteria and environmental microbes. Explain that. What does that mean to the average person?
So what that actually means is, first off, we actually have microbes that are on our skin, in our mouths, they're in our gut. They're really important for keeping us happy and healthy and well functioning. You actually couldn't live without your microbes. And it turns out that everywhere you go, you actually shed these microbes around you, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And so when we looked at what was in the air, for example, in airplanes, we saw a lot of that, of the normal microbes that we would typically have on and around us all the time.
And so those microbes would have been on the outside of the masks?
Yes, exactly. So that was a big concern that we had is, if you're wearing a face mask, obviously it's up against your face and you might, get a lot of skin microbes on that mask. And so if that's happening, could we actually still detect what's in the air versus what had been on your face? And yes, the answer is yes. And one of the things that we did is we only took from the outside of the face mask. So masks usually have a couple of different layers. We separate those layers and we take just from the outside of the face mask. Another thing that we did is we looked at specifically which microbes we were detecting in which samples. And we actually saw differences, which suggests that what we were seeing is reflective of the environment rather than the same individual wearing a mask over and over again.
What does this say about face masks? Because a lot of us haven't worn masks since COVID-19. Does this mean that maybe these masks will have new life? Should we be wearing them on a regular basis? What's your opinion on that based on the findings of this study?
So one of the big reasons we wanted to do this kind of study is to be able to answer that question of like, when do you need to wear a mask? And right now, what we do is we look at maybe community transmission rates. So you might have wastewater-based surveillance, or you might have epidemiology data like hospital admissions. And we might use that to say, oh, you know, something's going around, you might want to wear a mask. But that's not specific to the room that you're in, the plane that you're on. And the dream is to eventually have some sort of sensor or informed decision-making capacity to say, in this room right now, everyone should put on a mask. In this room right now, we should turn up the air circulation to make sure we're filtering everything. And so I would say this study is sort of one step in that direction of helping us make those decisions of should we be wearing a mask right here, right now.
Can you talk about the environments in which these masks were worn? Was this one plane, one hospital? Can you walk me through that part of it?
It was, so I'll say this wasn't the most systematic study. It was more of a proof of concept, but it was several planes and lots of different places within a hospital. So it's not just one thing over and over again. There were some short haul flights, some long haul flights, a lot of variety, but not systematic. So I wouldn't use our results to say, oh, this is definitively what is in all airplanes. Rather, what the results show is that this is a method that we could use. And if people are wearing masks, we can take advantage of that to detect what was in the air around them.
I know you talked about these microbes that were essentially harmless. Was there any indication of any active infections that were found on any of these masks at all?
So we don't have that health information. This was, again, more of a proof of concept. And ideally, going back to that dream of being able to say, like, okay, the smoke alarm has gone off, put on your mask. The thermostat went up, crank up the HVAC. We would want to be able to link this to health data to say, yes, this led to an infection, or no, this didn't. And right now, believe it or not, we don't actually have the ability to do that. We need to do more research and we need more studies to be able to say like, oh yeah, this is the threshold, or this is the thing that if we detect it, it's really dangerous. And right now we simply don't know that. Right now we can just say, hey, this is what was here and it looks pretty normal.
Walk me through the process. Someone wore the masks and then what happened? Was that mask then handed over? Was it then inspected? Walk me through the process of even getting to the findings.
Yeah. That's it's a fun journey because originally what we had hoped to do was actually to use the cabin air filters in the aircraft itself. But it turns out that those air filters are really difficult to get and very expensive. And so then we were thinking, oh, what is something that's more accessible and really pretty cheap? And the answer was face masks. So people would wear the masks and then when they're done, just take them off and put them in a little sterile baggie, so sort of like a Ziploc bag. And then take them back to the lab. And so that process was really, I would say, not optimal. If we wanted to do this for routine monitoring, if we wanted to implement this, we would hopefully have like a lab or something in the airport itself so that it doesn't have to travel quite so much other than while it's being used. And then once the masks got to the lab, so we work very, very carefully to not contaminate the mask because, of course, there are also microbes in the air in the lab, microbes in the air everywhere between the plane and the lab. So we work really carefully to take it out, like I said, separate those sections so we're only getting what's on the outside, and then be able to detect based on DNA what had been on the mask, what had been in the air, where it was worn.
And what was the circumstances for those that wore them in the hospital setting?
So very similarly, we asked people, who are wearing masks anyway, hey, at the end of your shift, instead of throwing this away, would you mind? Here's a sterile baggie. And then we went and picked up, a handful of baggies with a handful of masks and did the same thing where we separated them out and looked at just what was on the exterior of the mask.
What does this say about maybe the HEPA filters on an airplane, for example, or even like the filtration system in a hospital? Did you look at any of that?
So that's like exactly like super key that these are two areas where people do think a lot about what types of microbes in the air and how do we control them. And that's why we were thinking the filters themselves would be a great place to collect microbes. HEPA filters are really, really good. They're really high efficiency. They're great for cleaning air, but nothing is perfect. And of course, there's still going to be some things that are in the air. So wearing a mask on top of that is really good for preventing that inhalation exposure. This doesn't necessarily say anything about the efficiency of the HEPA filters themselves because we didn't look at anywhere that didn't have HEPA filters, so we can't really compare. But we do know that that both HEPA filters and masks are great ways of preventing inhalation exposures when there is concern.
How many masks did you have to examine during all of this?
Oh, so we probably collected close to 100 and used a lot for sort of troubleshooting and just trying to figure out like, wait, how big do I need to cut the thing? And there was a lot of figuring it out. But ultimately for this study we published, it was just over 50 masks.
What would you say to the public? The idea for some people to go back masking in certain environments, they don't want to do it. What would you say to people out there that are watching right now that, the holidays are still in full swing? They may end up on a plane because they're going to visit someone over Christmas holiday. We know people are getting sick, colds, etc., so they're going to hospitals. What would you say to someone that has to step into these environments? Should they put on a mask based on your findings?
I think right now we're still flying blind a little bit, if you will, pardon the pun, because we don't necessarily have that real-time data to say like, oh yeah, this plane or oh yeah, this room. In the absence of that data, we have to do the best we can to protect ourselves. So, vaccination is great. Wearing a mask if you're concerned is great. And just generally trying to limit transmission and limit exposure, especially if you are sick. It's really, really important to stay home if you can, isolate if you can. If you do have to go out, in that case, definitely wear a mask.
All right, Erica Hartman, thank you for the work that you've done. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Chicago Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, it was an absolute pleasure. Well, stay with us. We're going to be talking with the folks over at the Salvation Army in Northwest Indiana. They really need some help with kettle donations. Maybe you can help. Maybe you'll think about it the next time you're coming out of a store. You'll have that money ready or even be able to scan that kettle. We'll have them right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Chicago Live. We're going to talk about donations when it pertains to the Salvation Army of Northwest Indiana. Indiana has been hit with a decent amount of snow over the last few weeks, and joining us to talk about the donations that are coming in on the low end of things, Major Troy Baker. Thank you so much for your time and joining us on the show. Let's start out with this. How can people step in and help? He may be frozen there. We'll try to work to get him back. But what they're saying is because of the inclement weather that Northwest Indiana has seen, especially with the snowfall, the cold temperatures, people are just not filling up those red kettles like they have in the past. I think we have you there, Major Troy Baker. Thank you so much for your time. Let's talk about this. What are the issues that you're seeing right now?
Yes, as you've already alluded to, because of the colder temperatures and heavy snowfall in the last 7 to 10 days, the Salvation Army of Northwest Indiana is experiencing a decline in financial giving this holiday season.
Let's talk about where you're set up. Maybe someone's watching right now, or they will watch later on after this live stream has ended, and maybe they want to help. Tell us about some of where these kettles are right now throughout Northwest Indiana.
Well, a lot of our locations are at a lot of major retail stores, such as Walmart, Stratton Van Til's grocery stores, Jewel Osco, and we have counter kettles at various restaurants and other areas in town.
I want to ask you this. You know, we're living in a time now where people order things. You know, they order from Walmart, they order from Jewel, they pick up, the car's loaded, they never maybe get out of the car. Are there ways to give where you're not coming in contact with that kettle?
Yes, you can go online and just Google Salvation Army Virtual Kettle, Northwest Indiana, and your money will get exactly where it needs to go.
You know, there are a lot of kettles around the Chicagoland area where now you can tap. That is available to people. Is that the same situation in Northwest Indiana as well?
Yeah, all of our kettle signs have a QR code where you can just take a picture and it gives you an option of how much you would like to donate, $1, $5, $10, or a custom amount that you can choose.
Talk about where that money goes. You know, this is the time of year where people want to be charitable. They want to help their neighbors. Talk about where some of that money ends up.
Yeah, the money ends up here in Northwest Indiana. We have 4 locations that serves the various communities, one in East Chicago, one in the Hammond-Munster area, another in Porter County, and a 4th location in Gary Maryville. Those locations help out with everything from rental and utility assistance to our food pantries, feeding programs, and so many other areas and programming that the Salvation Army offers.
Major Baker, give me an idea here of when you say that you're down, you know, looking at previous years, maybe December 8th of last year. Are we talking about being down to the date of maybe 50% compared to last year? What's the percentage? What's that number?
Well, we started off the season, the first 2 weeks of bell ringing, we were slightly ahead of last year. And then because of the weather and especially since Thanksgiving, we've seen quite a decrease. We only have 15 days of bell ringing left, and right now we're about 45% of our goal.
What should people be doing right now that can help you?
They can help by, as I said earlier, by going online, Googling the Salvation Army Virtual Kettle, Northwest Indiana. They can visit, when they're visiting or shopping at a local store, just take time out and put something in the kettle. Even change brings change. And I know for myself, when I was 7 years old, the Salvation Army made such a difference in my life. And that's been my calling, is to help make a difference in other people's lives. And we have people coming to us every day, new families all across Northwest Indiana that has never been to our organization before.
Yeah, we know times are hard for a lot of people, so a lot of people are reaching out to various nonprofits looking for services, so we do appreciate the work that you're doing. Have you ever had a situation, you know, every now and then around this time of year, we hear someone walks up to that kettle and they put a gold coin in there, something that's worth astronomical amount of money. Have you ever had that situation there in Northwest Indiana?
We have in the past, prior to my coming here. We haven't this year. We're looking forward to that event if it is to take place, because that gold coin can make a difference in the lives of others and many families.
You know, you mentioned having more families there that maybe you haven't seen before. Talk about the need and what really families are coming to you for around this time of year. What are they needing?
Well, beyond our Angel Tree program, where we help just hundreds of families across Northwest Indiana with toys, food, but people are constantly coming to us for food, with rental assistance, with utilities, especially this time of year. You know, utilities, the cost is high, and they're using more utilities at home, and they call the Salvation Army, and they need our help, and if we can't help them, we try to find another resource in the community that can assist them.
You know, we participate in the Angel Tree program here at Fox 32. The names are on the tree as soon as you walk into the doors. And I can tell you, literally within like minutes of those little names going up on that tree, different children across the community, our coworkers, they stepped up. And I tell you, those names were off of that tree literally within minutes. One more time, Major, I want you to tell us where people can go and donate right now if they're watching.
If they're watching right now, they can go to the Salvation Army Virtual Kettle, Northwest Indiana, and you can choose how much you'd like to donate. No gift is too small. We just appreciate everybody's generosity in helping to make a difference in the local communities.
We look forward to having you back when you have that miracle that happens when someone puts one of those gold coins, maybe a few of them, in one of those kettles across Northwest Indiana. Major Troy Baker, it has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the community. It sounds like you had your own personal story. You took that and you turned your pain into purpose. And we thank you so much for participating in this interview with us today.
Yes, and thanks to you and Fox News Chicago. What a great partnership we've enjoyed over the years with your station.
Yes, we have. I've bought all kinds of little gifts that kids have wanted across Chicagoland and probably Northwest Indiana as well. Thank you so much for your time. Hey, and thank you so much for tuning in to Chicago Live. Stay with us. We have a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Chicago Live. I know it is the season of all things holidays, right? You want something for Christmas. Don't forget to be a giver. This is also the season of giving. We heard that spoken very well by Major Troy Baker with the Salvation Army of Northwest Indiana. Hey, it has been a pleasure being your host for the last hour here on Chicago Live. I'm Tia Ewing. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow right here, same time, same place.
Chicago. This is Fox 32 News at 4.
Now, a wild crash in Hinsdale. Video shows the moment a metro train slammed into a car. Residents in Brighton Park continue to express their frustrations over newly installed bike lanes. And it's still a bit chilly out there, but a little warm up